So I just watched a video about human trafficking, and it's labeled modern slavery, and I'll put the link in the description. And it's John Oliver and or John Campbell, and I like on Oliver's show, and I wanted to talk about how I think the problem essentially is that people are outsourcing the solution. Like everybody, like the piece centers on statistics, and the guest basically implies that the problem might not be as big as the statistics imply. And okay, to me, the issue is, why does it still happen? Why are there slaves? And the answer is nobody's freeing them. And they talk about how the guest talked about how slavery was legal and how slavery now isn't. And then Campbell was like, legality doesn't matter. And I'm like, we can discuss the ins and outs of all of that. But I think the fundamental thing is that we're expecting a group other than us to fix it. We're expecting the police to solve it. We're expecting the government to solve it. When my question is a lot more fundamental and goes to the other more common and very real versions of slavery, wage slavery, and prisoners. The reason they're allowed to exist is the same reason antebellum slavery happened, is the same reason that it's persisting now. And it's that individuals don't stop it when they become aware of it. It's like, put down the phone and help, stop filming and help. And that's the problem, ultimately. Like, if I knew that there was a house in my city and inside that house were slaves, however you want to define it, slaves in need of freeing, what would I do? And the sad answer is probably nothing, because I'm physically weak. I don't want to die. I don't want to be killed by corrupt police. I don't want to be killed by organized crime or worse. But at least the difference between me and everybody else, I think, on this topic is that I'm aware that I'm a coward. I'm aware that I would let it happen. I'm aware that I am unwilling to die to stop it. And I'm responsible to that extent. The amount of grappling I do with that is on me. That's the daily kind of thing. Like, you're walking past a house that's on fire. Are you willing to be burned alive to potentially save someone who's already half burnt? That's a decision you have to make. That's part of being alive. That's part of making moral judgments and choices and decisions. And we all want to think that we would be the hero, but that calculation is fundamentally absent when people think about this issue, because they want somebody else to do it. They want somebody else to put on the armor and piss off the cartels and, get suicided by the police. You know what I'm saying? So because we do that every day. I feel like I like being aware that I'm doing that in this criminal instance. Also applies to all kinds of completely legal instances. And I think that's part of why the guest and and John wanted to get into, legality and stuff. It's because they wanted to, they're finding that way to apply some kind of moral alchemy to make it not their problem anymore. It's like, well, I can't solve it, so I can wag my finger at the people not solving it, which includes you, and wag my finger at the people doing it too, trying to be above it all. And I can sympathize. I do that all the time. Like, I intellectualize. That's how I emotionally survive this fucking dystopia. I make videos like this and have thoughts like this where I'm talking about this thing that's complicated in a distanced way, so I don't have to deal with the reality, the horror of it, the pain of it, the potential risk of it. But at least I'm intellectually aware of it, and I want people to be intellectually aware of it. It's like, there's a prison in your town. There's a jail, like, less than 20 miles from you? 50 miles max? Somewhere there's an asshole that's walking around with a jail on him. He's carrying cuffs and a gun. you could probably get to him in less than 3 minutes if you ran and made enough noise. You know what I'm saying? So you're a part of this. It is legal in a sense. We know that the government is completely illegitimate, but we don't fight it. We know that the prisons are completely filled with people who didn't see trial or got there from smoking a joint or whatever, got there because they're poor, essentially, or the wrong fucking color, you know? So don't be so about it. You're just as fucking evil as I am. And I'm not saying that means let it happen. I'm saying put that in your calculation. You know, think about what you won't do and think about what other people won't do and approach them with the same compassion that you'd approach yourself. You know, it's like the golden rule, you know, do to others what you want done to you, that kind of thing. I try to do that. And people need to just think about that you're letting it happen too. There's somebody you could go save right now. It's like, but you're not a fucking action hero, and neither am I. And honestly, it seems to me that the people that are willing to charge into a situation like that have been all captured and owned. I mean, it's like the idea, the myth of the good cop. It's like there aren't any, and if to the extent that there are, they get fired or killed. So the one thing that's absolutely right about that segment in the links in the description is that John very rightly states that even having this discussion is an indictment on humanity. It's like, now he kind of framed it too as like a past versus future thing. Like, this is something that we've evolved past. And it was like, no, we haven't, clearly. And besides, I don't think we evolve in that way. I think that sort of evolution halted the minute we invented farming. Like we took all the predators out, you know, the idiocracy, social Darwinism argument. And I'm not saying bringing them back because, you know, I look at the insect world, you know, that's evolution unleashed, and it's repugnant too, you know. That's really why I have hope for AI. It's because it's a new third thing. I really don't think it's going to behave like it. First of all, it won't have our level of stasis and stagnation. And I also don't think it's going to be completely brainless and at the whim of evolution and end up being crabs and insects. So I could be wrong. We'll see. You know, maybe that's the great filter. It's like AI turns into crabs and crabs eat everything and crabs don't broadcast on a radio. So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, just people need to understand you're letting it happen too. There's somebody within like a block of you that is enslaving others. There's somebody within a block of you that is enslaved. And I don't see you being willing to kick down their door any more than I am. Nobody is going to the prisons with ladders and crowbars and cutting torches like we completely fucking should. 95% of people in prison didn't see trial. Hello? More prisoners in America than the rest of the world. You know, we're the prison capital of the fucking world. So, yeah, I can see why we don't care about people being stolen and people being enslaved by, you know, organized crime, and then there's wage slavery, and then there's all, you know, I get it. I see where it comes from. It's because none of us are willing to die for it. So to me, a fix would look like some kind of distribution of violence potential. Like, instead of giving a monopoly of violence to the state, we need to give it to people. We need to distribute it like any other form of power. And what that looks like, I'll leave to you. I don't even know what that would look like, because that's kind of a discussion that is so far from what we've had. An example that jumps to mind is I'm from Kentucky, and there's like an oath. I learned this when I was on the foundation board for my college when I was student president, and then the presidents of all the other colleges in the system elected me faculty staff rep. So it was like I was president of presidents, and that made me like an official. So I had to read this thing and sign it, and it was like an oath, and it included. I'm also a Kentucky colonel, so I think I saw it in that context too. It's like I had to sign an oath or something that I wouldn't engage in a duel. you know. And a duel is a fight between two people to the death. It's a violent thing, but it's organized, right? But it's not between the state and a person. It's between two people, and it's a legal form of lethality. And maybe, and I'm not, again, this is spitballing and brainstorming, but I'm saying maybe we could have something like where you're allowed to challenge anybody to a duel, and then the state will come in and make it fair. You know, how long would billionaires last? How long would toxic CEOs last? How long would organized crime leaders last? If, like, I could essentially deploy the army and say, I'm challenging Bill Gates to a duel, to the death. You know, it's like me and him. How quick would they vanish? You know, and I'm not saying they would die. I'm saying that they would remove themselves from that sphere. They would get out or whatever. They would run, or they would turn into fighters, and maybe that would be good. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I can imagine, like, that's just one hypothetical off the top of my head. I can imagine, and of distributing violence potential to people in such a way that it would halt these organized crime systems, be they corporate or illicit. And so, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. That's basically, you're responsible, and we need to find some way to enable people to solve the problem, kind of like concealed carry. Like, my answer to crime in a city is basically just hand out guns. It's like, because the problem is when criminals are organized and they can do what they do with impunity, or they are individuals who know that the larger mass of individuality is completely stripped of teeth, and they can just, no, you can't do shit. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want to you because I can, because you can't stop me. So, you know, and to me, a pistol is a wonderful symbol of the dominance of humanity over the dominance of the brain over the muscle and the claw. You know, it's like Wing Chun. You can teach an 8-year-old to break a neck with Wing Chun, and a pistol kind of does the same thing without the learning curve and without the intense time demand. It's like, I can give you some basic gun safety courses, you know, and basically observe you for a while and learn, yeah, you're ready, you're not ready, here's your piece. And it's like I'm allowed to have teeth, I'm allowed to have muscles, so let people have a pistol, you know, let people have a mean of fighting back. So yeah, I guess that's it, I'm done.